Good morning. Good morning. Um, this video is going to be about choices and discernment, and it's in relation to the supposed 100-page letter that R. Kelly penned, and currently Choke No Joke is detailing the contents of it on his channel. But before I get into that, I want to put out a little bit of background information. The first time I learned about pimping and hoeing was when I believe I was in the fifth grade. Um, about a block down from the apartment complex that I lived in on the corner of Georgia and Macomb Street in Frenchtown, Tallahassee, Florida. I was down there with my dad one night, and coming up the block was my uncle Eddie boy, and it was this white chick that was real. She was dressed real skimpy, scantily clad, right? So they came up. I'm eyeing her all up and down. I'm probably about 10 years old. So I was looking at her kind of starry-eyed, but weird because it was strange even at my age to see a white person in that part of town at that time of night dressed the way that she was. Because if you was white during that time, and this was the crack era, so in the 80s, so if you was white and it was that time of night in that part of town, really the only reason that you was there was because you was coming to cop some drugs and then be out. So you wasn't coming down there to lollygag and party and stuff like that. You was coming down there to cop and be out. Or better yet, you actually knew somebody black that went down there and cop for you and then brought it back to you, so you didn't have to put yourself at risk. So to see her down there dressed the way that she was, all young and whatnot, it was kind of weird. Well, anyways, after they left, I asked my dad, I was like, why, is she who she is down here dressed the way that she is? So he was like, well, she's a hoe. And your Uncle Eddie boy, he's her pimp. So going forward over the years, I ended up learning, bit by bit what pimping and hoeing actually was. You know what I'm saying? But that was my first exposure to an actual real hoe. And one things that I learned about pimping and hoeing over the years is you can't successfully pimp without dick control. And here's what I mean by that. When a hoe pays a pimp, right? Tricks are the ones that pays the hoes, to have sex with or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So with a stomp down successful pimp, sex is not high on his list when it comes to priorities with the women that he deals with. Because if you were to go in and a particular prostitute chooses you, right, and then right off the bat, you're quickly having sex with her, and she really didn't have to put in no type of work to be with you in terms of, proving herself, earning her money or whatnot, and being able to get, whatever the special ism from you, so sex with a pimp is like a privilege for a hoe. So for a pimp, if you giving it up real quick and she didn't really have to do much in order to get that from you, a lot of prostitutes will lose respect for you as they man. And it's even worse if you keep doing that over and over again with, the particular women that choose you. So that can cause you a lot of problems when it comes to your particular line of profession. So I say that to say this: it's no different from a square man. You can't, well, let me take that back. I'm not going to say you can't, but it is difficult for a man to successfully move through life if he has no dick control when it comes to women. Because when you run into a lot of dudes that have bedded a lot of women, so-called womanizers, players, Mac daddies, whatever you want to, try to call them, there's usually a lot of problems that come with guys like that. So you probably might have a guy that has, a whole bunch of children from a whole bunch of women. He got child support issues. He's, in and out of jail because he can't keep up with the payments. He's got all kinds of drama between the different women, things of that nature. It's a lot of type of issues that come from guys dealing with a whole bunch of different women sexually. So that brings me to the point of R. Kelly and that 100-page letter. Basically, from the outside looking in, R. Kelly has a long history of making bad decisions when it comes to people that he's chosen to associate himself with, particularly women. So it's starting to come out that this man has had numerous sexual relationships with women over the years. And that's quite believable because, he's the king of R&B. You know what I'm saying? He's a sex symbol to a lot of women across the world. But the problem is that, when you look at the current state that he's in right now, it's because of women. So my thing is like after the 2008 acquittal, they were saying that he made necessary steps. He implemented certain type of procedures or whatever, a game plan, so he wouldn't get caught up. But my thing is, if you don't have the proper personnel in place to execute that game plan, no matter how good it is, it's still going to fail. And part of that game plan, to me, is, look, after 2008, you should have just say, hey, let me go ahead and leave these women alone. And if I do mess with anybody, let me just stick with one particular woman. So, don't be out there, because I know it can be tempting being who he is. You know what I'm saying? You go to an after party and you got all these women that's on your coattails, just wanting to give it up to you. I understand that, Or if you at a concert or whatever, you performing, you got all these women, just pulling on your legs, trying to, feel with, your pelvis area, whatever. It's real tempting when you got so many women throwing themselves at you. But one thing about it, when I was saying you can't pimp without dick control, is you have to, as a man, you have to be able to exercise self-control and restraint, self-discipline. You got to be able to put that into motion, because if you don't, it's going to cause you a lot of problems in this world. And I just kind of feel like that's one of the things that R. Kelly was not good at when it came to, dealing with women, and it cost him dearly. So my thing is, you say, hey, look, I'm not finna uh, do what I was doing before. I'm gonna cut all those women off, and I'm gonna focus on one particular woman. Now, it didn't have to be Drea, because obviously it looks like they was already on the outs. You know what I'm saying? Because a few years after the acquittal, they ended up being divorced anyway. So I think their relationship was on the down spiral. But even still, after the 2008 acquittal, I feel like he should have just fell back and say, you know what? I'm not finna be out here just spread myself far and wide dealing with all these different women. You know what I'm saying? Because when you dealing with a whole bunch of different women and something jump off, it's kind of hard to be able to pinpoint, especially in defense of yourself, you know, what may have happened or didn't happen. Like, for example, with the herpes allegations. So let me give you a certain scenario. Not like, so let's say you committed to one woman, right? In a monogamous relationship. You being true to her, you're not cheating on her or anything like that, getting with other women. You just straight up committed to just that one woman. And let's say you go to the health clinic, right? And you get a STD test. I'm talking about round the board, checking for everything. And you come back 100% straight. Nothing wrong with you, right? So let's say 3 months later down the line, you know, you having some issues with your man parts or whatnot. So you end up going back to the clinic again to get checked. And now you find out that you got a STD. Now keep in mind now, you true to this one woman, you're not cheating on her. You in a monogamous relationship. So if you now have a STD, you didn't have one before, and you're only with that one woman, guess what? When it comes to the finger pointing and the blame, you only got one person to go to. You know what I'm saying? So it's not an issue. But see, when you got a man that's dealing with multiple women at the same time, even if you was straight, you know what I'm saying, when you went to the clinic that 3 months before, but if during that 3 month time period afterwards, if you done had sex with like, you know, 10, 11, 12 different women, who are you really gonna go to as far as saying, you know, who you contracted the STD from? You got so many different individuals that you got to go through in order to find out the truth and who to blame. And that's not to even say that these women are going to own up to it, because they may look at it, well, you know what I'm saying? You weren't committed to me. You was already dealing with a whole bunch of women uh, uh, when I came into the picture. So that don't mean that I'm the one that gave it to you. For all I know, you had it and you gave it to me. That's pretty much what it looked like came out during trial for R. Kelly. So if you got some accusers on the stand saying that R. Kelly gave me herpes, well, and this is even if you got situations where there are witnesses that know the accusers who can confirm that these accusers actually had it before they got with R. Kelly. Either way, the problem is that when you dealing with so many different multiple individuals sexually, it becomes hard to kind of pinpoint where something went wrong. But see, that's like kind of like an end result of no dick control, or at least you got faulty dick control. So I bring that back around to the 100-page letter. So obviously, if from the outside looking in, R. Kelly has a long track record of, you know, making bad decisions and things like that. Well, I look at it the same way when it comes to that letter in Choke No Joke. You know what I'm saying? I can understand that R. Kelly is in a bad position right now, and he just may want to, get his thoughts out to the world. But the way I look at it is that legally the situation, the bind that he's in, is very serious. So for you to be penning such a letter and then uh, entrusting some particular prison worker to get that letter and then pass it on to somebody like Choke No Joke, who wasn't checking for you during the trial or before the trial. He didn't care nothing about you. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like you the latest wave for him for views and cash apps. So regardless of whether he sympathized for your story and your situation right now, that's not what he was about before. You know what I'm saying? So for all the people that have supported R. Kelly and advocated for him way before the trial, that's done been in this fight for 3+ years, you don't get a letter or had a letter passed on to one of those individuals. You pass it on to somebody who just jumped into this within the last month and a half or so. You didn't, I would trust it more if he would have gave that or whoever that person that had access to the letter passed it on to, like Jennifer Bonjean, and then she went to a certain pro R. Kelly social media channel, or maybe even the mainstream media, and said, hey, look, R. Kelly just want to kind of put his story out and just let you know what he's currently going through, why he's been locked up the past 2.5 years. I would trust it more if somebody like that got the contents of the letter and was revealing it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a legal issue. But for you to give it to some dang on YouTuber, who's going jumping from one different wave to the next wave, so let me get my views and my cash apps, and then when it die down, let me go ahead and jump on to the next dang on thing. To me, I think that's just another example in a long list of bad decisions that this man has been making for a very long time. So I know that I've hopefully you guys kind of got the gist of where I was going with my backstory, and then tying it into R. Kelly in this letter and the people that he's chosen to associate himself with. you know my thing is that after the 2008 trial, um, none of what's going on right now or has going on, you wouldn't have been able to pin that on R. Kelly if he was like, look, let me just go ahead and stick with one woman and just ride this thing on out. You know what I'm saying? Because even if he, I'm not saying that he would have just gave up music, but if he would have stayed on the music path, kept making hits and stuff like that, and just had him one woman, nobody wouldn't have been able to come back in like 2017, 2018, talking about R. Kelly coming with all of these sexual allegations. They wouldn't have been able to do that, because R. Kelly would have been able to quickly come out and say, hey, look, I don't know what you're talking about, because I've been with this one woman since 2008. You know what I'm saying? We've been in a committed relationship. I haven't been with anybody else. Yes, me and Drea, we got a divorce or whatnot, but this young lady that I've been right here the past 10 years or so, that's been it. So I don't go to after parties. I don't get with women after, in the after parties. I haven't been getting with women's after. It's just been this one particular woman. They wouldn't have been able to say that. Same as with Azriel Clary and Joycelyn Savage. You know, another example of bad decision making to me is is and this was during the trial when they said that Azriel revealed to him that she was actually 17 years old, and he got upset and he sent her home. Right then and there, she should have stayed home. Like, if her mom brought her back, no, you don't accept her back. No, you take your daughter back home. You know what I'm saying? And you don't even bring her back when she turned 18 years old, because you know what type of situation that I was in 2008. So for you to sit up here and lie about your age to me, you putting me legally in jeopardy. So as soon as he found that out, he should have been like, boom, you gone, and don't come back even when you turn 18 years old. Because what ended up happening after that, because he ended up keeping her around, what jumped off later on, now the parents are able to go out into the mainstream media and get on television shows, giving interviews, saying, making these allegations against him concerning a daughter. And even worse was, even when that jumped off, you still didn't uh, exile her. You still didn't get rid of her. You still kept her around. And next thing you know, boom, she's able to get cultivated by the feds, and now you cased up. So again, I hope y'all was able to follow along. I don't normally do videos this long. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment, tell me what you think, and y'all have a good one.